What is up, world? It's your boy Tanh, and you are listening to the Wonton Wealth Podcast. Here, I'm going to unravel anything and everything commercial real estate related. And more importantly, we're going to add abundant value. So if you're ready, buckle up your eardrums. What's up, people? Today, we're going to take a little break from all the educational shit, right? We're going to lighten it up a little bit, and we're going to backtrack back to my residential investing days. I want to tell you guys about a story of my most interesting real estate deal. And sorry to say it, but it's not in the commercial world yet. But back in the day, I did a lot of wholesaling. I did flips, burrs, holds, pretty much the whole nine when it comes to residential single family and small multifamilies. And back in the day, I had two partners. We were doing a direct mail campaign to increase our portfolio. And by doing that, our goal was to, wholesale what we didn't want, flipped what we could, or held what we loved. This one deal came up in Northern Kentucky, and it came from a mailer that we sent. And we were talking to this guy for, probably 2-3 months or so about this property. We underwrote the numbers, etc., and it looked like it penciled out. The guy wanted, $20,000-$25,000 for the property. It was less than 30 grand, I know that. And I think it was worth like 150 plus if you fix it up and whatnot. So after talking to him for several months, one of our checklist items is to visit the property. But he gave us all these, not necessarily excuses, but his tenant within that particular property was a very difficult tenant to handle. Supposedly, he wasn't paying rent. He hasn't gotten rent for several years. So essentially, that tenant was living rent-free for 2-3 years. What a nice life, right? And the seller mentioned that he visited a couple times, knocked on the doors, the tenants changed the locks on him, and pretty much couldn't get a hold of this tenant. And it was causing a problem for him. So, long story short, from that perspective, we weren't able to view the property, which is, I guess, a red flag, if you will, whatever. Ended up closing on the property, right? So, bought it for $25,000+, and at the closing table, the guy comes to me, he goes, yeah, I tried to get some of the keys made, but tenant wasn't responsive, blah, blah, blah. Here's a couple extra $100 for changing locks, getting new keys, etc. I'm like, all right, cool, thanks. We got the tenant's information, tried to reach out to him, tried to call him, text him, visited the property a couple times, nothing. Would not answer the doors, everything was locked, looked like they were home, but they were just dodging us, right? So after probably a couple weeks of this, we filed for eviction. But during that time, it was during COVID, so at court, there was the COVID moratorium, which says, a tenant has another grace period of a month or whatever. So pretty much struck out there. Another month of pretty much no rent. And essentially, we've had the property for, call it 3-4 months or so. And went back to the court system to file the eviction again. This time we were successful, right? So we got the sheriff there, picked out a date, got some movers, got some guys to put their stuff out on the streets, and I decided to show up that day as well. I thought, it's probably a good idea for me to actually see the property for the first time. So we arrived, and I was across the street, and the house itself had windows already open, and the movers are doing their thing, they're moving stuff out, sheriffs were there kind of letting them know that they got to move, they're packing shit into their cars, whatever. But since the windows were open and I'm across the street, I could smell this house from across the street, and it's probably 30-40 yards away, right? And I see the movers in hazmat suits. They're suited up for hazmat, and they're going in, putting things out. Like, they look like astronauts walking into this building, right? It was crazy. So everything's moved out. They're moving out a ton of shit. It looked like they were hoarding a ton of stuff. But on top of that, this is a I think 1 bedroom, maybe a 2 bedroom house, maybe 1,000 square feet, 1,200 maybe. And they're moving out like 2 dogs, a couple cats, gerbils, hamsters, you name it. A ton of animals. It was kind of like a zoo in there, right? So after that, probably 30 minutes goes by, and one of the movers came up to me and they were like, man, you will not believe what is in this house. And I'm like, I mean, you moved out of a zoo, moved out of goddamn jungle, and all this shit. What else could be in there, right? So he goes, when you walk in, the first room you're going to see is the kitchen. There is a 400-pound pig sitting in the corner, but that's not the worst part. The worst part is that the whole kitchen has about 6 inches of shit layered up in there. And I'm thinking to myself, dude, shut the fuck up. There's no fucking way. Sure as shit. 20 minutes later, they called environmental services. They're walking out this pig, big giant dude, at least 400 pounds, right? Broke the ramp on his way out, broke the ramp on his way up to the van. Probably took another 30 minutes for him to wrestle the pig around the yard to get into the van. But sure as shit, the kitchen had 6 inches layered of shit in the kitchen. I was mind blown, right? So everything was moved out. Tenants were moved out. We got everything cleaned up, took all the shit out of there, literal shit out of there, and decided to pretty much just get rid of the property. And after another 3 to 4 weeks or so, we ended up selling it for pretty much a break-even price. And there you have it. That is my most interesting residential real estate story. And I will see you guys again next week. And that's a wrap. If you've made it this far, that means you've listened to the entire episode, so thank you. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please leave a review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're listening from. And if you've learned something or found it useful, share it with one of your homies. And if you want to get in touch with me, I'm pretty active on IG. My handle is pro_TANH. Reach out, let me know what you liked, what you didn't like, or what you want to hear about in the future. I'm here to tailor this to you. Until next time.